Welcome to Lead Different, the podcast that redefines leadership and challenges the status quo. Hosted by Daniel Dominguez, founder and CEO of Why Not Leadership. This show is your compass to becoming a better leader through the power of self-awareness. Good leaders foster teams that are engaged, empowered, and energized. Join us on this transformative journey as we equip you with the tools and insights to lead different. Get ready to challenge the ordinary and embrace self-aware leadership. This is Lead Different.
Subscribe now. Discover a new era of leadership. Lead different, because great leaders change the world.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Why Not Leadership podcast. I am excited today to introduce you to my good friend, Mitchell Levy. He is an amazing individual that I have had a chance to work with a couple of times in the last few years. But, I'll tell you a little bit about him. So he's a global credibility expert. He's a two-time TEDx speaker, including the 28th most popular TEDx talk in 2021. He's an international best-selling author of over 60 books. He's a certified stakeholder centered coach. We've talked a little bit about that in our conversations in the past, Mitchell. And he's an executive coach at Marshall Goldsmith Top 100 Coaches. As an executive coach, Mitchell is a sounding board, a thinking partner, and someone who can hold the mirror to generate insights for personal change. This impact has earned him a place among the world's top 200 leadership voices by LeadersHum, number 16 in 2023, and as the number one thought leader in ecosystems and a top 100 thought leader overall by Thinkers 360. Wow, Mitchell, welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you on, and thank you for being on.
Oh, my pleasure. It sounds really cool when you read it.
So it's amazing, right? You go through an entire career doing a lot of really cool things, but it's not till you have to sit down and list them all for someone for an introduction that you realize how much you've done. And you're a very humble person. So I didn't even could finish the whole thing. There was so much there that we're going to talk about, and you bring so much value to everything that you do, Mitchell. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Dan, it's always good to be in the same room with you. I appreciate that.
Hey, Zoom room, StreamYard room, or wherever you're listening, we're going to air this on LinkedIn. We're going to air this on Facebook, and it's going to be on YouTube. So wherever you're watching, welcome, Mitchell Levy. We're excited to have you on because Why Not Leadership is all about leading differently. And I like the fact that I'm bringing on someone, besides all those credentials that we talked about, Mitchell, you're someone who has a YOS that starts differently, right? So your YOS is to challenge the status quo, to make things simple and easy to understand, and to build trust. So we start there. That's different already, right? You're someone that likes to challenge the status quo and do things outside the box. What's great about that is you also like to keep things simple. You make things simple. How you challenge the status quo is by simplifying things and making them easy to understand and implement. And ultimately, you deliver solutions that people can trust. How did that feel to you when we first went over it? And what are your thoughts on your YOS?
Oh, so I believe what happens when you share it with other people, I certainly can tell you what happened with me. It was yep, and yep. And what's nice about being able to summarize it in the simplistic form you have, and what I'll do is I'll share it in the way I say it, which is slightly different than what you've said.
Right.
So it's simply, what do I love doing? I love challenging the status quo, simplifying for others, and I do it within a container of trust.
Yes.
And to say it that way, it's like, because that's, if you've ever been on the whether it's in person or it's a Zoom call, whether it's 1 or 100, there's a container of trust where people in the room are just feeling comfortable being themselves and really letting out what's important. That's the most important thing to do. And then I think the cool part is everything I've done has been challenging the status quo, at least asking, not challenging to challenge, but challenge to see, just because everyone does it doesn't mean that we should. And then at the end of the day, if I've done something twice, I can then simplify it for somebody else.
Right. Right. And Mitchell, one of the really cool things, I love how and there's that simplify how of yours, right? You've simplified it into even simpler, right? We at Y Institute, when we go through our training, we talk about that simple YOS. Well, you simplified it even further. And it makes it real easy to get it into one sentence. I'm working with a client now that's been trying to get his YOS into one sentence. I should have just sent him to you.
Well, we will talk about the CPOP, and that is the most, that customer point of possibilities. That is the most simple way to actually talk about what somebody does. And I think that's the same thing. That might be kind of fun, Dan. I'd be happy if you want to send one or two people. They could share their YOS, and I could see how that fits and how they can express it, and how that relates to their customer point of possibilities. That'd be kind of fun.
Well, you know what? Let's instead of even having that be a possibility, let's do it for real, because you've done it with me, Mitchell. You know my YOS. I shared that with you, and we spent some time together because I want people to see the magic of the CPOP. It's something you do so well. So for those of you who don't know, my Y is contribute, my how is challenge, and my what is make sense. So in everything I do, I want to make sure I'm making a difference in the lives of others, making a positive impact. That's what drives me. That's the contributor in me. My how is to challenge the status quo. So Mitchell and I vibe very well there, because how I contribute is by doing things differently and out of the box. And my what is to make sense of things. Now, you took that information, and then I told you a little bit about what why not leadership is all about. And what was magic is within seconds, you had a CPOP for me. And I'm going to share my CPOP, but we're going to go backwards, right? I'm going to share my CPOP, and then I want you to talk about how we got there. Because at Why Not Leadership, what I want to do is help leaders lead better. And I told you the story, good leaders don't want to not be able to connect with their people, but it sometimes happens. And so my CPOP is leaders struggling with people connection. So, man, how'd you do that so well?
5 words.
Yes.
5 words. So
define CPOP first.
Yeah, I was going to say there's like 3 or 4 questions here. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
CPOP stands for Customer Point of Possibilities. So as a summary, between 2019 and 2020, I interviewed 500 thought leaders on credibility. And one of the many secrets that popped out is the ability to articulate for any company and any individual who you are in less than 10 words. And when I say who you are, if you are a credible human, or if you are a credible company, you are a servant leader. And so the CPOP has 2 components to it. It's who, so who do you serve? And then it's the second part is either what is the pain point that your audience feels they have and need to get over, or what is the pleasure point they want to address. And so when you and I were having this conversation, you asked me, how do I do it? I listened. I'm listening for the audience you serve, and I'm listening for both the pain points and pleasure points. And as it turned out, your audience leaders, right, and then the pain point, about 80% of the time, the pain point sort of rules over the pleasure point, because the concept of giving, in your case, 5 words, the concept of sharing 5 words, the person on the other end, and this is for any leader, imagine sharing who you are. I just got off a call earlier today, and the leader who talked to me said, Mitchell, we spent a year and a half and we still don't have our quote unquote messaging right. I'm going to tell you, first of all, challenging the status quo, it's not about messaging.
Yeah.
It's about you and your audience. And if you're a servant leader, I'm going to say, what is your CPOP? Because when you have that, let me share one more thing, and then I'll let you ask the next question. Your CPOP represents the playground you play in.
Right.
Right. So if you're playing in a playground and you know what it is, now you have a different set of lenses for everything else. So the messages that come out of you when you sit in your playground will be different and will be spot on, because the playground you're playing is the playground in which your audience is looking to either solve a problem or reach a certain location.
Man, that's so good. And like I said, I got so much value out of it. You guys are going to hear from Mitchell, and Mitchell and I are going to work together. I know that that's for a fact. We're going to be doing some collaborating because he's a stakeholder centered coach, top 100 coach. I've been so impressed with everybody in that organization that I've met, Mitchell, and to be one of the top 100 guys is a real honor. And I can see how YOS helps people understand themselves. But we were talking in the pre-show about when we're talking about stakeholders, when one of the things we do at Why Not Leadership is help leaders understand themselves, understand their teams, and then help them understand each other. Well, that seems to fit right in with what you're doing as a stakeholder-centered coach, because you're involving everyone in the process, right?
To summarize the concept of the stakeholder-centered coaching, it's a beautiful approach and formula, is that, and Brandon Murgard, actually, I can't say his last name properly. Isn't that
It's Murgard.
Yeah, thank you. Has done an amazing job. And one of the things that he says is he can guarantee any leader in a 12-month period will be seen differently in the eyes of their stakeholders. It kind of simple, right? And what he does is, if you're a leader and there's a particular area you want to focus on, what you need to do is work with your stakeholders to have them help you. And what they're doing is they're not only helping you and reminding you, they're not only your accountability partners as they're doing this. And stakeholders are, your suppliers, your customers, your bosses, your employees. What they're also doing is you're also changing their perception of you by giving them an active view into you and what you're trying to change. So anyhow, SECs are great. Stakeholder-centered coaching is a great methodology. And there's incremental insight that can come from actually understanding the why, the YOS of each of the individuals who are stakeholders, right? Because now you know how to speak to them, because you know what they're excited about and what they perceive as valuable.
Right. Well, I want to, and I love, thank you for that summary, because for anybody who's listening, who's not familiar with SEC, that's a really great summary. So thank you for doing that, Mitchell. I want to get into 4 things that I like to ask: your mission, your vision, your goal, and your passion. And you've done a really good job of outlining that. But your mission is, you're dedicated to helping people navigate the ever-changing landscape of the modern world. So every week you have a weekly Substack newsletter that you put out, and you delve into strategies, practices, and insights that help people adapt, evolve, and thrive. Where did that mission come from, and what are you hoping to accomplish with it?
So I have a bigger mission, which is part of that. It's helping people be seen as credible, which is versus the other, which is dubious. Right. And the concept of the Substack newsletter is just mitchelllevy.substack.com. The concept of that newsletter is we need to stay relevant. Now, when we're younger and we're naive, it feels very comfortable to be relevant all the time. And at some point in life, people take a vacation.
Right.
Right. Silicon Valley, there's so many of my friends have been CEOs. They did a sale, they closed, they took 2 years off. When they came back, they're like, oh my God, I don't even know what this place is anymore. Right. So the question is, and in 2023, humanity got a significant wake-up call. It's the reality that AI is actually here. Right. So now the question becomes, for anybody, no matter what political orientation you have, no matter what education you have, how do you stay relevant in the world? You've got to continually grow, continually learn, continually do other things, experiment, have fun. So that was the newsletter is simply a easy way for me to give back to the community what's going through my head, what I'm thinking about, just simple things about, for me, once again, it's all about simplification. How do we live a life in which we're happy with who we are? We don't get to the end of life and go, oh my God, I wish I'd done these other things. That's not my goal. It's that you should love what you do and you should get paid appropriately for the things you do. And you should create a life for yourself you're excited about.
I love that you said that, because one of the tenets of the Why Not podcast, the Why Not Leadership podcast, is to say that at the end of our life, Mitchell, we're not going to regret the things we did. We're going to regret the things we didn't do. Read a great book called the Top 10 Regrets of the Dying. I don't know if you've read it.
No.
But it was a consistent theme of things that people didn't do. I wish I had taken that opportunity to become a pilot. I wish I'd asked that pretty girl to marry me. I wish I had taken that. It's nothing about what you did, because what you did, you don't regret what you did. You regret the things you didn't do. So I love that you brought that up. That's a great way that we match up here. So I was going to ask you about. So you talk
say
about
why not?
Say why not, right? You do have
Exactly.
to say why not. Thank you. So that was your mission. So your vision is to empower individuals and organizations to unleash their full potential. And you've done that for over, probably thousands of people by articulating their purpose in 10 words or less. That's what the CPOP is, right?
The thing that's interesting, I just want to ask, if you're a leader listening to this, here's what I want you to think about. Imagine stating in 5 seconds something that the audience you're talking to immediately can relate to you and immediately knows what's next. And that's the power of having a playground that you play in and articulating it in such a short time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with a CPOP, it actually comes before the value proposition, all of the silly things, mission, vision, values. The CPOP actually comes first, because I'm going to go back. If you're a credible human, you are of service to others.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to know who you're serving and either what is their pain point or pleasure point. Everything else just flows naturally after that.
Mitchell, it's interesting that clarify didn't come up in your top 3, because you are so good about providing clarity, and that shows when we started looking at your passion for humans who want to be seen as credible. You help people gain credibility while delivering value and helping others.
By the way, I have thought about that after you shared with me the 3 elements that are powerful for me, and I think what I might say to you is that clarity is a tool for me to accomplish what I do, challenging the status quo, simplifying it in a container of trust. So it's high up there.
Yep.
But it's not. Maybe it's not that it's just what I do. It's just natural. When somebody says, "Oh my God, this stuff is so complicated," my entire life I've focused on the ability to simplify it. Mm-hmm. And so clarity is just a written way or a verbal way to articulate the simplification.
Yeah, and you're talking about that. When we conduct whether it's a one-on-one or if I'm doing a team workshop, I always have people say, well, you know what? Yes, my why is challenge, clarify, and or challenge, simplify, trust. But I think I might be clarify too. Well, you are, right? We all have a little bit of all of them, and of all the 9 whys, and you bring that clarity to life by simplifying, right? And you give people that. I mean, when I love my CPOP, because especially as a new business, and you know this, Mitchell, people say, so what do you do? And so it's very easy for me to say, well, I help leaders who are struggling with people connection.
Oh, and do you mind if I do a small update live while we're talking about that?
Sure, let's do it.
So the one thing I will encourage you to do is not start with I help.
Okay.
Right. So then the question is, well, how do I say what I do? Right.
Yeah.
And I'll share mine. And I have 3, but I'll just share one that I'm primarily focusing on at the moment. It's coaches who've created a job, not a business.
Mm.
Now, when somebody says, "Who are you? What do you do?" If you say, "I help, I serve, we help, we do the following," one of the problems for somebody who doesn't know you is that they're going to start feeling like you might be selling them something, right? Even if you're not trying to sell them something, they're going to feel that way and they may not hear the next words out of your mouth. So what you
Right.
want to do is you want to create an environment where if you could actually specify the playground you play in without saying it, the act of simplifying what you do, in your case, 5 words, my
Yeah.
case, 8. So what I would normally say, Mitchell, what do you do? Clients typically attracted to me is what I would say. Or
Ah.
clients I'm attracted to, right? Either one of those is good. And then you do a pause. So you have to do the pause and then you say your CPOP. So I'll just say, Mitchell, what are you attracted to? Clients typically attracted to me, coaches who've created a job, not a business.
Mm.
And then here's the interesting part. Dan, you're going to love this. There are 3 types of people who are listening to what you just said: referral partner,
Hmm.
prospect, don't care. It is very easy to tell if they're one or two, because if they're a referral partner, they're going to think, wow, that's interesting. I know somebody to recommend. Tell me more. Or if they're a prospect, they're going to, I'm very interested in that. Tell me more. If they don't care,
Hmm.
doesn't mean they don't care about you. They just don't care about the playground you're currently playing in.
Right. We talk about that all the time with YOS. We say when you know your why, and you know your why statement starts with "I believe that success happens when I challenge the status quo." And tell me yours, because you've got I like the way you say it. Tell me your YOS.
Oh, I'll never
You
say
said
it
it
the same.
earlier,
I never say it the same way. Um,
but the
it's
container of trust. I love the way you
I
finished it.
challenge the status quo with simplicity within a container of trust.
So what I tell people all the time, and you do a great job of this, Mitchell, is people are either going to resonate with that and say, "Ooh, I like that. I want to work with him," or like you said, or they're not. And that's okay too, right? Because the people that resonate with that, you want to work with them. They're going to reach out to you, you're going to reach out to them, and there's going to be a connection. The people that don't resonate with that, it's okay. The ones you want are the ones that say, "Ooh, I want somebody that's going to challenge the status quo simply and then within a container of trust." That's a person I want to work with.
I love that. Hey, Dan, would you mind trying your CPOP with that new addition I just shared with you? If I said, Dan, who are you?
Mitchell, clients typically attracted to me, leaders struggling with people connection.
Ah. So, one of my superpowers is when somebody is in clarity, or some people would say when somebody is resonating in their frequency, I get a chill. If you said it all without the space, I don't get the chill because then it feels like about you. But what happens when you said that is you put a chill up and down my spine because I feel like that's your frequency. That's where you're resonating. It's very powerful.
Love it. This is so good. And hey, you know what? Where everybody that's listening, this is a free coaching session. You're getting to see me getting coached live by the master himself on clarity. I'm really clear. One of the things I know coaches and new entrepreneurs struggle with is focus, right? There is so much. I've got over 30 years of leadership experience. I could help a lot of people lead, but I really want to work with those leaders who are struggling with people connection.
It becomes fascinating when that next opportunity comes in that's not a good fit.
Yeah.
It's very easy for you to say no.
Right. Yeah, I
It's
love
not,
that.
well, how about we say it's not easy? You say, wait, I want that client. But at the end of the day, it's not a good fit, right?
Well, what it does is we want to be in that, like you said, it's that playground work. We work the majority of our lives. I want to work in a playground. I know Mitchell works in a playground. We're working in a playground where we're playing. If work feels like play, I'm part of a men's group, Mitchell, and last night we were talking about 3 things you should do. And we should do things that are doing that. We should do things that are right. We should do things that are good for us, and we should do things that are fun, or that we love, right? And one of the guys said, you know what? If you love the first 2, then everything you do is things that you love. So they don't have to be separate, right? If you love your work, and then you love working, right? Because you're doing work that you love, and those ideal clients are just going to be so much more fun to work with.
Oh, you change the caliber of the 4-letter word work to play.
Yes, yes. Well, Mitchell, I want to talk a little bit about what does, as a challenge guy, what does leading differently mean to you?
Hmm. This is a hard thing for people to hear. You've been taught all of these approaches and potentially implemented to get to the leader position you are, the mission, vision, values, goals, all of these things that may have worked a decade plus ago. It's hard for you to recognize that simplicity is more powerful, and to be able to allow the people who are working for you to play in the playground that is theirs. Right? If we recognize the difference between what we're doing for a job, for work, and if they like that, and that they also have a home life, and that they're in control of who they are, because as humans, the things which are mundane can now be done by AI. Many of those things can be done. So if you're a leader, you want to lead the type of people who really are empowered to do the things that you can't do because it's still human versus AI doing something else. So I'm just going to say the hardest thing to be thinking about is just think about simplicity and ask yourself, could it be as simple as Dan's 5 words or Mitchell's 8 words? Can it be as simple as something that's less than 10 words, and I can now empower a 10, 20, 100,000 person organization? I'm going to say the answer is yes.
Man, that is powerful. You said a lot there, Mitchell. So many people are afraid of AI because it's going to replace their jobs. I have found AI to be extremely helpful in the work that I do, but it cannot replace me because I still have to put me into it. And I don't think I'd ever go into AI and create a LinkedIn post or an email that I would send without first reviewing it, because I think there's room for mistakes, right? And you have to have that humanity.
Yep. Ditto. Agreed.
Yeah. So Mitchell, before we finish, and can you believe this has been such a fun interview? We've got a few minutes left. I want you to tell us about your biggest why not moment. Time in your life when you said why not to something, and you're so glad that you did. It's turned out so well for you that you're so glad you said why not. It's one of those moments you're not going to regret because you did say why not.
Actually, I live in the present for the opportunities that are in front of me. So generically, I'm going to say serendipity provides so many presents to each and every one of us every day. And so many of us don't play in the playground that we don't actually recognize the present. I've had so many. I'd say work-wise, following my parents' advice after I went to a startup that failed, and they said, you should go to a large company and then move around. I said, why not? Pleasure-wise or family-wise, I met the woman I thought was of my dreams. She ended up moving to California. 6 months later, I made the decision to follow her, and we've been married now for 33 years. So it was the right decision. It was opportunity that was presented, but I could tell you so many stories like that where serendipity presented an opportunity and I said, why not?
That is a great story. 33 years. Congratulations, Mitchell.
Thank you.
I'm right behind you. We're going to be at 30 years in April, but
Nice.
it's definitely finding the right person, right? What does she think about the work that you do, Credibility Nation, and helping people message themselves and making such an impact on the lives of so many individuals, coaches, and companies around the world?
You know, I have a phenomenal partner who cares that I'm happy and I'm doing my life's purpose. And that's the same that I wish for her. And I think the way we've been able to grow is because we both do different things and want different things. And she is excited when I'm the type of person who, when I wake up in the morning and I'm playing on my playground, she is happy for me.
Yeah, that is a great answer. Mitchell, what do you say we end the show on that note?
Why not?
Thank you. We'll see you guys on our next episode of Why Not Leadership. Have a great rest of the week, and thank you, Mitchell Levy, for sharing your wisdom with Why Not Leadership podcast.
Dan, this was amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.